EU powers, including France, recognise Juan Guaidó as Venezuela's interim president. Russia says they should stop meddling. Record crowds expected in the UAE as the Pope begins a landmark regional visit to promote understanding between Catholics and Muslims. Elsewhere, crocodiles in the streets, just one of the threats unleashed by record flooding in northeastern Australia. Thanks for joining us. We start with Venezuela and a host of European powers this Monday recognising Juan Guaidó as interim president. France among the nations to give the opposition figurehead their backing. President Emmanuel Macron renewing an appeal for fresh polls, saying Venezuelans have the right to express themselves freely. Mr. Guaidó declared himself interim leader last month in a move backed by the US, and most regional powers, Russia, China and Turkey, continue to support Mr. Maduro. Kathy Clifford has more.
After President Nicolas Maduro's deadline to call elections came and went, the EU countries behind it are throwing weight behind their words.
Venezuelans have the right to express themselves freely and democratically. France recognizes Juan Guaidó as acting president to implement an electoral process.
This day has come and no steps have been taken in such direction by the regime of Maduro. The government of Spain announces it officially recognizes the president of the Venezuelan Assembly, Mr. Guaidó Marquez, as acting president of Venezuela.
Britain, Portugal, Sweden, Denmark, Austria, the Netherlands and Germany also recognised Venezuela's opposition leader as interim president. They were among the EU states to set the ultimatum 8 days ago. The majority of smaller European countries and Switzerland, a non-EU state, adopted a more cautious approach, avoiding the word recognise in their statements. Meanwhile, Russia accused the EU of interference in Venezuela's internal affairs. Despite the pressure, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has defiantly rejected the deadline.
We don't accept ultimatums from anyone. It's like if I told the European Union, I give you 7 days to recognize the Republic of Catalonia, and if you don't, we're going to take measures. No, international politics can't be based on ultimatums. That was the era of empires and colonies.
The Venezuelan president nonetheless said he remains open to dialogue. It comes as the EU announced that a newly formed international contact group of European and Latin American countries will hold talks in Uruguay on Thursday to address the Venezuelan crisis, an initiative Nicolas Maduro has said he supports.
The Maduro government saying it rejects these latest moves from European powers, promising to review bilateral relations. Meanwhile, the EU's sparring over Venezuela continues this Monday, Italy blocking a joint statement from the 28 recognising Guaidó. That according to diplomatic sources. Moving on now, the Pope's touched down in the United Arab Emirates, his highly publicised visit, a regional first for a leader of the world's 1.3 billion Catholics. He said he wants to strengthen ties between Christians and Muslims, but secular issues will be there in the background during this trip, not least the war in Yemen. For more, I'm joined from Dublin by Brian Conway, who's lecturer in the Sociology of Religion at Maynooth University. Thanks very much for talking to us. Why this visit and why now?
Well, I think the first thing it's important to emphasise the significance of papal visit in the Catholic tradition, just in general. So when the Pope goes to a country, it's an opportunity for him to get in contact with the faithful. And it's also an opportunity for the church, for the Pope to bolster the local church. And significantly, these occasions when the Pope goes to another country provide him with an opportunity to engage in what's known as papalese. So this is a kind of a language the Pope speaks when he goes abroad, where he speaks out on focal issues in a particular context. So in the case of the United Arab Emirates and that world region, we see the Pope stressing the issues around conflict in Yemen. He's also stressing the importance of responding to immigration. So these are all issues that are central to the Pope's message. And these are actually very choreographed occasions. So there's a lot of interaction and planning by state and civil leaders. Sort of papal visits are very choreographed, kind of ritualized visits to another country. And it's important as well to say that the Pope's visit to the United Arab Emirates is significant from the point of view that it's to a church that's not a traditional heartland of the church. Usually the Pope goes to traditional heartlands. So we think of places like Italy or Malta or Poland. These are traditional heartlands. But the United Arab Emirates is in fact a place where the church is a very small minority, and it's actually a resource poor church. So the Pope's visit is a way of bolstering the church in that kind of a context, and it very much kind of fits with the Pope's stress in his pontificate on the church of the margins, the church of the periphery. So if we think of in the global church, the United Arab Emirates is a church literally on the periphery. It's a minority.
He's also faced a lot of criticism for going there, not only over what's happening in Yemen, but amongst over the UAE's domestic human rights record. Yeah, so sometimes, papal visit does these things, drawing attention to issues, but its success in a way, if you like, partly depends on how the local population responds to it. So in this case, there has been some criticisms of the human rights record and so on. But I think in general, the Pope is trying to draw attention to these issues that he sees significant in terms of his papacy. Even the symbol of the visit is a dove with an olive branch. So this is a symbol of the Pope's stress on bolstering Catholic Muslim relations in this world region. That's one of the key kind of ambitions of his visit. So he's, for example, will be attending the Global Conference on Human Fraternity, meeting with Muslim leaders in this society, the Muslim Council of Elders. So these are all kind of significant aspects of the Pope's. Brian Conway, we're going to have to stop you there. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Devastating flooding in northeast Australia has forced thousands of people from their homes. Authorities even warning residents to stay on the lookout for crocodiles and snakes spotted in the floodwaters. They've also issued a warning saying strong winds with gusts of up to 100 kilometres an hour and more rain are on the way. France 24's Tatiana Nasser has details.
A year's worth of rain in less than 7 days has wreaked havoc in Townsville, and authorities say it's not over yet.
There is still heavy rainfall across this area. This monsoonal trough just doesn't want to seem to move much at all. There's going to be heavy rainfall over the next couple of days. There will also be damaging wind gusts and intense rainfall with significant flash flooding. So once again, our message is if you don't need to be out on the roads, please don't.
The army has been deployed as the rising floodwaters forced residents to evacuate.
In all the years that I've been here, 18 years, I've never seen it up this far.
Downstairs is gone. We've got fridges floating, freezers floating.
The whole region's in trouble at the moment, so it's been very hectic.
This town in Queensland is almost unrecognizable, as entire suburbs have been completely submerged. Schools are closed and the highway linking the north of Australia with the rest of the east coast was cut off, prompting fears of a shortage of basic provisions. 16,000 residents are currently without electricity, and at least 20,000 properties are still at risk from flooding.
Finally, investigators say they've spotted a body in the wreckage of a plane that disappeared in the English Channel 2 weeks ago, carrying Argentine footballer Emiliano Sala and his pilot. Sala's father, Horacio, earlier spoke of his shock that the plane had been found after a private search organised by the family. The 28-year-old player was flying to Cardiff after transferring from French team Nantes when the Piper PA-46 Malibu he was on vanished from radar about 20 kilometres north of the island of Guernsey. That's it for this bulletin. Do stay with us here on France 24.